Welcome to the first part in a new series for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic called Four Corners. This video is going to consist of three parts. The first part is going to be a very brief introduction to the series. The second part, we're going to be talking about the starting location and some of the techniques we're going to need to make this economy self-sufficient, because this is going to be a big feature of this series. And then of course the final part, we're actually going to get down and do some gameplay. Now, I'm aware that many people don't like introductions, so if you want to get straight into the gameplay, a timestamp will be appearing now. If you decided to stay, welcome. Now, this introduction is going to be very brief because I have created a separate video which it goes into the map layout and the reasons for making this series, and that video will be available at the same time as this video. But for anyone who doesn't want to watch that video, I'll just talk very briefly about what the objectives of this series are going to be. Now, the objective of this series is to take a small remote village starting in 1908 and grow an economy right through to possibly the year 2000, whilst at the same time reflecting some of the major historical events in Soviet history. Now, if you're not sure what these historical events are, of course, we're starting in 1908, so the first major event will be 1914, the beginning of the Great War, which will run until 1917. Then, of course, there will be the Russian Civil War, which runs until 1923, when the communists win and we start to move into ascendancy. And then moving on, while the Communist Party is establishing its authority over the country, we've then got the Second World War, which starts in 1939 to 1945, which is a great period of turmoil, which hopefully we'll be able to represent in this series. Then, of course, post 1945, going through until, well, I can say the late 1970s, we've got the Cold War, where there's absolutely minimal trade with the West, and of course growing hostilities and friction. Then in the 1980s, we've got the fall of the Berlin Wall and this massive opening up of the Soviet economy to the West, and particularly the growth of the oil and gas industry. And so the objective is to reflect these events in the context of of this economy. So this means that the game rules aren't going to be the same as a vanilla. We're not going to be min-maxing the economy. You're certainly not going to be playing hard mode. There's going to be a strong emphasis on self-sufficiency, but I will give you a bit of a warning in the sense that that self-sufficiency was not going to be in the context of the vanilla game. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. I think that is enough of an introduction. If you want more detail, feel free to watch the introductory video. Now, moving on to the second part, this is going to be the starting location. It's down in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. And of course, this means that we're going to be spreading out across this map full of trees. Now, the starting location consists of two parts. We're going to start here. Now, this is really for role-playing purposes. And what we got here is the North Cape Trading Center. And you can see we've got a fully active wharf here, which we're not going to be using. It's just here mainly for decorative purposes to begin with, mainly because there are no ships really available in 1908. I know historically there should be, but unfortunately we are bound by the mods that are available in the game at the moment. Although if you're watching this in the future, there may be some ships around. It'd be nice to actually have a nice sailing ship that came in that didn't need fuel, although I don't know how that would work. And of course the customs shed here is acting as the warehouse for the goods that are imported into here. And this plays into the role-playing element that when certain major historical events, and of course the first one will be the First World War, the resources coming into here will slowly dwindle because most of the productivity of Russia would be focused on supplying the troops at the front. So remote locations will suffer correspondingly for that. And also tucked in here, we've got a wagon depot. This is here to represent the villagers buying their wagons, because there is only wagons available at the moment, just to show you. There are no other vehicles available, not even available in the West. So our starting economy is going to be very orientated towards wagons. To begin with, our villagers will have to buy their wagons from there to get the economy up and running. And of course, moving over to our little starter village here, you can see it's called New Hope. Now, before I talk about the village in detail, I just want to point out something that This map is available in Steam. It's called Four Corners 1908. But if you decide to subscribe and play along, be aware that this map does contain some mods in order to be able to provide a more realistic starting village. You're going to have to subscribe to these mods, otherwise what will happen is when you start the map up, any mods that you've not subscribed to will be destroyed. But then again, if you want to plan the village to your own kind of shape, just start the map, destroy the mods and plan away. So just move in a little bit closer. You see, what I've tried to do is build a fairly realistic village, in the sense that we've got the Orthodox Church here, which would obviously religion is quite strong prior to the advent of the Communist Party. We've got a priest's house, and for role-playing purposes, this is the landlord's house, i.e.g. the player. Now over here we've got a little starter kind of supply area here, and this idea came from Novu's Siberia 1910 start. I think it was pretty cool to do it. And what we got is the village shop's already been built. We've got a barn here with some crops in it already, courtesy of the way that when you place mods on a custom map, sometimes you get the auto purchase and you get a few crops. And up here we've got a bakehouse, and you can see we're going to need both crops and wood to be able to produce food. And I think that is a good example of what our primary resources are going to be, is woods and crops, because we are going to be producing a lot of the other resources in the game, which we're going to have to produce in order to stay within the vanilla rules, from wood and crops. And that also applies to building our own wagons, but I'll talk a lot more about that as and when we get into the gameplay. We've also got some fields here, and we've got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140 capability to grow crops, but you'll see that there is no farm here, because what we're going to be trying to do is run this crop production manually, and then eventually we'll build another farm, because we're going to need a lot more crops to get self-sufficiency. And then down here is one of the features that you do need to consider if you're starting in 1908. That is that this horse feeding station is equivalent of a gas station. So we're starting now, we don't actually need fuel. But having said that, we're going to need to transition to fuel by the 1920s if we want to have vehicles. And one of the objectives of this series is that we're not going to import fuel, or only the minimal amount of fuel, because the idea is we're going to be using horses and carts until we can develop a fuel source. That can either be gotten from wood or crops, depending on how well we are with the crops. But of course, eventually we're going to need to find oil. And just to show you, there is a little bit of oil close to the village. And then what we're going to do is manufacture our own fuel, and then that will allow us to use the fuel-driven vehicles. But up until then, we're going to be constrained with the horse-drawn vehicles. And then, of course, we've got a tiny construction office here. And I think it's also worth drawing your attention to the fact that there is no exterior power connection to here, so we're going to have to generate our own electricity. This is the reason why we've got 2 windmills, and there's one over here as well. Now the windmills are being positioned to give maximum cover to the village, but we're not going to get enough power to generate a major expansion, so power is going to be another early focus, although I'm not exactly too sure how we're going to do that without building. I don't really want to build a massive big coal-fired power station because it's out of context. We may actually put a water mill down here or something like that, because I do want to try and stay within the historical limits of the time. I think that is about it for this part. What we're going to do now is actually get into some gameplay. So after that long introduction, we're finally able to get down into some gameplay. Anyone who skipped forward on the timestamp, welcome. This section is going to consist of 3 parts. In the first part, we're going to do some very basic setup, check a few parameters to make sure everything is set up okay, because of course the main focus of this series is going to be building everything from scratch. The second part is going to be very much planning, trying to get our initial buildings set up so that we can get the village built, and then finally we're going to kick off and start building some things. And I suppose the first thing we're going to need to do is go over here, and we're going to hook up these people here, because we need to gather as many as the population together as possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shove them all into the bigger buildings, because these actually have a higher rate. If I show you here, these have a quality of 80. These buildings have a quality, although you've got a quality of 80, but one or two of these buildings have only got a quality of 65. If you're going to move workers, always try and move them into the buildings which have the highest comfort, is probably the best way to say it. Simply because if you put them into a building with, say, 65%, what will happen is that their unhappiness for being moved will be compound with that, and then you're probably going to cause the unhappiness to fall generally. So it's better to put them into a more kind of pleasant accommodation, probably is probably the way to say it. And of course, some of these would be moving from the lower quality buildings anyway. So you can see this is 65. So in some ways, moving to a higher quality building is going to be a little bit of a step up. See, all these have just literally got one residence in. I mean, you don't have to gather them all up, but I want to do it because we don't have a lot in the way of population. So we've only got 154, so we need everyone we can at the moment, because there will be some escapees, because it's going to take a little while for everything to settle down. So we will lose some population. I'm hoping that we will not have to bring anyone in. If we do, the argument's going to be that these are people that have upset the Tsar and have been sent into exile. So we'll just come here. So we've got a whole list of buildings here. And of course, eventually we will come out here and develop these villages. The next things first, we're going to come here, get all the way back to over here. We don't want that one. We want this one. And we'll just move everyone in. We'll just kind of just drop everybody in. Actually, we'll put some up, put everyone else up in this one here, because it's only the odd people, and we might as well spread the population around a little bit. And get that there. Just get these in. Like that. And that gets all the population together. Now the next thing I want to check before we do anything is I just want to make sure that there's no auto purchases on, because that will be a little bit kind of pointless. Also want to check the, well, we certainly need to turn that off. Get a residence in. We don't want to get citizens. I think that is everything we should be able to do. So the next step is to set up a supply here so that we got people being fed. We've got 16 tons of crops in here. Just take a quick look at this. So 2 tons of crops will turn into that. I think we're going to keep the crops just for the moment, and just to keep life simple, because one of the problems we may have is the fact that what we're going to get is lots and lots of wagons running backwards and forwards along here. So I really want to keep those to the minimum. So I think we're going to start with a couple of covered whole. And what I'm going to do is buy the 2-horse trucks over the 1-horse ones, because you can see that these travel nearly twice as fast, and this is going to be quite important to get these deliveries in. It's going to be a bit of a painful process anyway. And what we're going to do is, I think we need clothes in straight away, so we're going to put you in here, and you're going to wait until unloaded, kick you off, and then, so I think to begin with we'll just import food. We got quite a lot of rubles, so there's no point worrying too much. And you're going to come there, and you can wait until unloaded as well. Now, one thing you're going to see with these wagons is that first thing they're going to do is come all the way down to here, to come to here to get fueled up before they do anything. Actually, I just want to check. This one's okay, but what I'd like to do is just adjust this as well. We've got 2.56 tons of electro components. I want 4.5 tons of mechanical components. but I'm a little bit worried about that food at the moment. We're just going to drop the food down to about 9 tons, and we're going to kind of increase that up. I think 1.61 tons of electro components. We're not going to need those very much to begin with. I think we probably need a smidge more crop food. I think that will work because we've got storage for 115 tons of crops in here as well. So because we are going to be storing our mechanical components, electrical components in here. And oh, there's one other thing I need to do is we need to bring crops into here. Because if we run out of fuel, we're going to be in trouble. So we're going to need a third. Oops. We're going to need a third covered hole here. And your job is going to be to buy crops from here. And I think we'll deliver it to here. And I'm going to put wait until unloaded here as well. But I don't think that's ever going to happen, to be honest. And just get the game rolling a little bit, just so you can see that the wagons leaving the wagon center here. Now, while that's running, what I want to do now is plan this area here. Now, we've got certain key buildings we need to put in place and get working. And of course, one problem we will have is fire. And I think that's going to do. The other thing I'll also show you, in fact, I'll just speed it up a little bit so that you can see what's going to happen. What you'll see is that the workers are going to go out into this area here and start sowing the fields, which is exactly what I wanted. One thing I do want to do is turn that off. It's one thing I did forget to do. So we're just going to let this run for a little while. In fact, sorry, I'm going to pause while I do the planning, because one element of this series in the beginning is going to be, there's going to be quite a high element of micromanagement. And I think the first thing we're going to need to do is put in a fire station. If I keep pausing, it's down to the fact that I've got a bit of a checklist in front of me, which I want to kind of work to. So we need a fire station. Got this one here. This needs gravels and 40 tons of bricks. We've got this tiny little one here, which is just concrete, gravel and boards. I think we'll go with that. Now, I'm not too worried about the fact that it's only got one slot, because well, I'll just show it to you. Well, over here, we come into here and I show you the fire truck. This is our fire truck. It's capable of 22 kilometers an hour, or the cheaper one 16 kilometers an hour. But with my test play, it's not particularly that useful. So what we're probably going to have to build eventually is a fire station here and a fire station up here in order to ensure full coverage. So, and I'm half expecting some losses due to fire. And of course, a key factor of the planning that I'm going to be doing here is I want every building within walking distance. So we're going to put that in there. Now, the next thing I want to put in is a bus stop. The reason for that is that over here, we've got the ability to put in some gravel. And that is going to be, and what we're going to have to do is send the workers out here by bus. So we're going to put a little bus stop in here. Again, it's going to be very, very low budget. Platform, apologies. I'm trying to find one. There is a bus stop in here that's it. This is the one here that doesn't need any workers. So we're just going to drop that in there. That's going to take 5 days. And what I will do is allocate that bit there, because it's going to get built. Now, this is going to be my production area. And what I would like to do is, if possible, is get a road off of here. Get this road here. Get it as close as possible behind here, like that. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, if we come back to here, wood and crops is going to be a very key element of this series in the beginning. And what I would like to do is we're going to put in a storage. We want an open store for wood, and we're going to put that in just about there. Again, we're going to try and keep it as close to the road as possible. So in fact, I just want to tilt it out slightly like that. And then what I want next is a, just think, what do I want? I want a carpenter. So we need to get that. And again, I just want to keep tilting it out that way. This will make sense, I promise. And again, I want to keep the factory connections as short as possible because we're going to have to build those manually. And it didn't work. Okay, thank you, game. Okay, we're just going to delete that. First you don't succeed, try again. Okay, we're gonna probably have to make it a little bit. What's up with this? What's up? What's causing the problem here? Infrastructure in the way. You can see our little wagons coming in, and then what they're going to do is go in here and get some fuel. Try again. What we're probably going to have to do is, that's it. We've got that built there. Now the next thing I want is a mine, and we're going to put a wood cutting post in. It's got too much steel. I think we're going to have to go low budget, and what we're going to do is put in you about, if we get that there like that. So we've now got a open store here, we've got a carpenter and there, and we didn't get the road. You are being a real pain, game. Now the next thing we need to do is just check the distance so that we can ensure that the buildings of main interest is this one, but so we got that there. Now the next thing I want is an open store and an aggregate store here, but part of me says that I know I shouldn't be modifying the map and the road a little bit, but especially considering I'm the person who actually created the map, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of come out a little bit like that, and then we're going to put in another open store here. This is going to be for steel and bricks, and then alongside that, we're going to have to push the road out a little bit further. We're going to put the small aggregate store in as close as we can here, because we've got the potential for a conveyor there, although we won't be building conveyors too quickly. In fact, I think what we will do, I just want to plan the quarry. I'm not sure if I can. Now we don't have the ability to level. It's 57%. We can get that in there. And what I'm going to do is we're going to run through here. Connect to there. Connect to there. And eventually what we'll have is our ore processing here. I'm going to pause the game. I'm a little bit concerned that the game may run away while I'm actually doing things. So what we've got now is we've got the storage capability. And what I want to do is I'm just going to allocate you, and you. Actually, I think I'm going to let the game run because these guys have already built it. Yeah, we're just going to let the game run slowly. Any spare workers can come out and build these storage positions, which we're going to need. Despite the fact that this being a 1908 start, we're going to need concrete and asphalt, which is one of the base game mechanics. We don't want that because that needs prefabs. I think we've got some better ones here. Got a small little concrete plant here, and we're going to tuck that right in this corner here. Again, we're going to keep the road as short as possible. And then what I need is an asphalt plant as well. Rock crusher, hot mix, This has got concrete. I'm sure I had a... There we are. This is what I'm looking for. We got a hot mix plant here. We're just going to tuck that in as close as we can into here. Again, we're just going to check that people can get to it. Now you can get it. I doubt if you'll be able to get it. You can get to the concrete plant, but you can't get to the asphalt plant. So that is our initial planning phase here. And you can see these guys are building. Now, I don't want to stop here just at the moment. What I want to do now is plan something else up here. Because I want to explain this in part one, just to ensure that you get a flavour of what I'm trying to do. In fact, I think what we're going to do is just jump forward. We need to get a school in. And I actually know where I'm going to put the school. We need a small village school. And what we should be able to do is just zoom in really closely. I think I should be able to get the school just on this corner here. Press control because we don't want the footpath. We're just going to want that on a mud footpath. You can come into here. And the school just needs some steel bricks and boards. Because of course education is going to be quite important. And then what we're going to do is move over to here. And just look at my list again, sorry. Right, so the next thing I need to do is we're going to jump forward, which may sound a bit odd. We're going to move forward now to some vehicle production, which is production line, because what we got is the horse breeder wagon workshop here. Now this is going to be quite fundamental to our ability to be self-sufficient. We just want to get that in there. And again, so this is going to be the horse breeder. Now what I'm actually going to do is rename this to New Hope Blacksmith for a reason I will explain as we go along. We've now got the blacksmith here, and the way I envisage this is the guy who's going to be producing all the various components we want. He's going to be our wagon builder, and he's also going to produce other elements. Now the way I'm going to do that is that if we come to here, we come to factory, what you will find here is we got this building here called the horse feed converter. Now this is a little bit of a mechanic to get round the problems you can have with when you're first starting out, when you're using wagons. So we're just going to come in here, and of course that's not going to connect, is it? Have to delete it again. Just love this game sometimes. Of course we've kind of messed about with the road connections now, so we're probably going to have to kind of come out a little bit further like that. So we've now got the horse feed converter. Now what this does, we come into here and I'll just show you it. What this does is it takes crops and wood, and again the two primary resources, and it produces plastic, steel, mechanical components, electrical components, electronics. Now I know some of you will look at that and think, why has it got to produce that? And the reason for that is that when you build vehicles, those are the primary requirements, and that is a fixed game mechanic. So it can't actually work without that. And this leads into why this is the village blacksmith, because well, effectively this is the village blacksmith working with this guy here. So you can see this is his workshop. Now the idea is going to be is that when we start moving a bit more towards self-sufficiency, this will be producing our mechanical components and electrical components, which we're then going to be using for our electricity and other buildings. But that is a little way off in the future. Now, of course, what we need in here is wood. Just to come back and show you here. So we need wood. And what I'm going to be doing is we're going to put another wood cutting post out here. And we're just going to try and get that connected. And then alongside that, we're going to put another open store. And hopefully this is going to connect. Come on, game, you can do it. So what we're going to have effectively is two wood cutting posts now, because you've got to remember we're going to need wood for the food. We're also going to need wood to produce out here. And of course we're going to need vast quantities of crops as well. We've now got our open store and we've got our aggregate store built. It's going to pause again just while I sort this out. We're going to limit this. We don't need boards. We don't need uranium. We're certainly not going to be importing prefabs. And really all we're going to be bringing into here is bricks and steel, but we don't want vast quantities. So what I'm going to do is just regulate it a little bit from this perspective here. Well, maybe we're a little bit more in like that. So we've now got this area up and running. We got these built. And now what I need to do is effectively start importing some goods. We're going to need the gravel. And of course, we're going to need lots of gravel. So what we're going to do is come over here and we're going to get, I think we'll get 2 dumpers like that. And you're going to pick up from there. You're going to pick up the gravel. And of course, these have only got a very limited carry capacity, so it's going to take a little while to get going. And I think we can just copy the schedule. Let's let the game run. Let this guy run out. And just clear that. And what that means is that we have these 2 now delivering gravel down to here. Now, the first thing we want to build is the school. You can see this needs bricks, a little bit of bricks and a little bit of steel. So what I'm going to, in the moment, I don't want too many wagons running backwards and forwards in here. So what we're going to do is get an open hole here. And what this we're going to give this one is a kind of double loop. So you're going to come down to here and come to here. You're going to buy boards and then you're going to unload boards there, and then you're going to come back to here and you're going to get some steel, and then you're going to drop the steel off in there. So the idea is that this one will, so we're going to have 1 wagon effectively delivering the boards and steel here for the moment while we get set up. Of course, I haven't put any vehicles in here at the moment, so what we're going to do is assign you as a, and then we want to assign the school there. The school's the priority. I know intuitively you should think I should be making the concrete, but we don't need concrete, and all we need is bricks and boards here. So we actually need to import some bricks as well, don't we? Okay. What I'm going to do is get another open hole, and this one, maybe I'm overthinking this a little bit. I think you can bring in bricks, because I mean these guys don't carry that much. So you unload bricks there. What I'm trying to avoid is having too many little trucks running backwards and forwards at the moment, trying to get things done. Oh, we don't want you in there. You're wasting my workers. Get out of there. Now, what I need here, see, all we need here is gravel and boards to get this guy going. And this one. So this is going to be fairly possible. What we're going to do here is we're just going to put this 100% boards. Like that. Of course, building these is going to be a bit of a problem. So what we may have to do is have a wagon moving the stuff around a little bit. So we're going to have lots and lots of wagons. So we've got this planned here. What I need to do now is do the remaining infrastructure, because we need a clinic, some culture. Culture is going to be a bit difficult, and of course, and sport. And we also need a kindergarten. I think we'll start with the doctor's surgery. Again, it's a bit difficult with respect to try, you know, I mean, health is going to be a little bit difficult, because the only building that really fits with the period is this, and this is like a doctor's office, but it is a little bit kind of over the top, to be honest. But I don't think there's much we can do about it. So we're going to kind of create a, you can almost call it a a wealthy end of town is probably the polite way of saying it. Now the next thing I would like to get in is a kindergarten. Now I know what I'm looking for the kindergarten. I think it's this one here, and it's really small. And what I want to do is just tuck this in. And although it lists concrete and gravel and asphalt, all it needs is bricks, boards and steel. So we're going to get that there. And I want to add you to the construction list as well. And of course, what we're going to need to do, something I've forgotten to do, is gravel there, steel there, bricks there, boards there. And what we're going to do is, I think what I'm going to do is just buy them directly here. No, we don't. We don't need to do that. We'll just do it properly. So what we need here is a dumper, and I think we're get 2 open holes, and we're just gonna send you to the construction office like that. And we'll just get you into the construction office. I mean, I'm just going to play a bit faster now because it's going to take a little while for these wagons, because again, you can see the queue forming here where they're all coming in to get the resources they need. Let's see here. We've now got clothes in here. We've got a little bit of food. Kind of a little bit worried about this food. We don't have that much. We got kind of thinking maybe I need a second food. We're getting a little bit of food in here. I'm misleading myself. Yeah. So he's going to keep going until this is full up, which is good. I want to keep a big food reserve. You see, at the moment we haven't spent that much in the way of cash. Anyway, back to here. We've got a few workers coming in here, but we need to get this sorted out. We got this here, and eventually it's going to take there. So we've now got the doctor's office, the kindergarten. Now we come to some of the trickier bits and pieces, because what we need now is sport and culture, and of course a little university as well, because we're going to have to be, as our benevolent leader to the village, we're going to need to bring in some education. Sport is a little bit difficult because, well, how can you explain it? I mean, we could put a tennis playground in or a football playground, but I suppose technically, if this is the wealthy end of town, you could argue that the priest and the landlord and the wealthy members of society actually play tennis. I mean, tennis was a relatively popular game back in this period of history. We could argue that. I think we could just put the tennis playground there. So that is there, and of course, just messed up this. We're gonna have to get rid of you. We'll just put in on a mud road. We want a footpath there. Don't think that will connect up. We only need one footpath. Let's check the coverage. Yeah, I mean that fits there. We got a doctor's there, and I think what we will do is just put in the university. I've got this very small university somewhere. Where is it? This tiny university. I think we could get that just on the end here, but you can see this is going to need lots of other resources, but this is going to be a long-term project. I just want to plan it in there like that. Now comes the difficult problem, which is cinema or culture. Now we've got this building here, the old opera house, which we could possibly put in here, or kind of back here somewhere like that, or over here. But would that fit? Now the alternatives are, we got this thing, which is a quite a big theatre, but it's going to take a lot to build. Now another one is, we got this one here, which actually requires less, but I'm not sure whether that fits in the context of the, actually I think I'm gonna, I don't know, let's make a decision on the building. I say this is the hardest one of all. I mean, we got these small theatres here, but they don't really fit in with the time period. And then there's another one in here as well. Where is it? I can't find it. I mean, this looks probably relatively modern as well. I mean, we've got this building, country club, but I don't think that really fits as well. And I do want to get the culture up and running pretty quickly because it's quite key to people's happiness. Let me just see if I can find what I'm looking for. We've got this old cinema building here. Well, we could put that in. I could put it there. Let me just see. Have we built anything here yet? Oh, we've already got bricks here, so I haven't got anything here. So we're just going to knock you down. I mean, if we're going to put in something like that, what was it called? Lost it. You got the old opera house here. We've got the old cinema building here. I mean, we could put that, say like that, there, and then that would fit. And of course, we'll have to get rid of the footpath again for the umpteenth time. Oops. You can connect there. So we got the doctor's surgery there. And actually that works quite well because eventually we could put in this school alongside it as well. So we effectively create a row of buildings here going up to the university. So we're going to have to put the sport back in again. Anyone live here? Yeah, we've got 6 people live here. And then what we'll do is we'll just put in the sports. I think what we could do is just put this way. Actually, yeah, if we put this here, I don't think it will fit this way. I've kind of filled this space in. I think this is one of the problems you're going to have when you're trying to get everything in really tight. I think if we put that there, then we can just put a footpath up like that. Put you in like that. You in like that. We get you out like that. Yeah. So we've now got this being built. So effectively now what we've got is all the buildings that represent the basic infrastructure of our little town. Let's see what we got delivered. We got a little bit of bricks and steel coming in here. A nice pile of gravel. We've got things being delivered. How's the school here? Yeah, we just need a little bit more steel. So we're just gonna have, and this is where the patience is required, because it's very tempting to say, yeah, well, we'll just chuck in a few more buildings and get a few more things done, but I'm wondering whether, right, he's just picked up some steel from there. What I might do is change that route. Maybe we do need an open hole delivering steel. Let me just see. Oh, we've got plenty of boards here. And I say what I do want is the kindergarten and that built, because just to show you here that we are growing a little bit, but you can see we've had, it looks like we've had a couple of escapees or people, or we had more deaths than births, but generally people look happy. The problem's going to be is that, one, we need to get the education up and running. So we got people there, so we should get the school working. How many educated people I've got? We got educated people. We need the kindergarten functional, because if we don't have the kindergarten, we're not going to get anything done. Have you got any other jobs? Yeah, village school. See, what we need is the asphalt now. Because what is getting the culture going is more important than the health, to be honest. So what we're going to need to do now is just to sign in. We need to get these two built now. And of course this needs mechanical components. So what we're going to have to do is deliver some mechanical components to the factory. Let me just see. Just want to see whether when we got a lot of food ton, you've got 0.3. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sneak that up a little bit. Get you unload. Just leave that the way it is. And then we're just going to borrow you for and put you there. New Hope shop. Just remove you from there. And then we're going to load there. Take that off. And I mean, we got 1.51. We got 1.5 tons of. Okay, let me just see here. We've got 925 tons there. We got. You're just going to unload. And then what we're going to do is just flip you around to close. Like that. So what we're going to do is just run on this food just for the moment, like that. Let me just look at this. So we've got gravel here, gravel there. Right, what we're going to do now is just get this and this built. We've got our little kindergarten going here. 4 members of staff, that's great. We've got our schoolyard going. So we've now got education up and running, which should be pretty good. How we got here? We're getting quite a lot of gravel coming in as well. We've got 7.9 odd tons of bricks. Let me just pause now. Do we need... We don't need bricks for this. We don't need bricks for this. But we do need bricks for this and steel. But we do need a bit of steel. What we're going to do is flip you onto steel for a little while. Put you there, take off the bricks. And this is the type of thing we're going to need to do, because the alternative is we'll just have so many wagons running upwards and backwards and forwards here, it's going to get crazy. So, see, citizens' happiness is low, and again it's these very small buildings here. You see, unable to participate in sport and culture. So this is the reason why getting this up and built is quite important, I think. But we do see this needs concrete. So our next priority has to be getting these built. Do you have a cupboard hole though? No, you don't have a cupboard hole. So what we're going to have to do is buy a cupboard hole, and then you made a mistake there. Cupboard hole. Okay, we're just going to buy the double horse. I'm going to send you to there. So we're already on the 15th of May. Everything is growing. So progress is very, very slow. And you need steel and mechanical components. Do we have Right, what we do need to do is assign you and you to there. Because we haven't built the concrete in there. So once the covered wagon arrives here, they can deliver those mechanical components to here. What we got here? Yeah, we need 0.03 mechanical components here. And there you go. I need to make sure which one of these. I probably have to rename these so I can actually keep track. To be honest, my Russian is useless, and that probably says bitumen plant, but actually we can rename that while we're here. New Hope bitumen. I think is it? Type of bitumen is spelled with an I, E or an I. Bitumen plant. It's annoying me now. It's an E. Sorry. Change that to an E. Right, we've built the concrete plant. I'm going to rename you New Hope. Concrete plant. So we've got concrete in here, and that now means that we should be able to start thinking about building this. And we've got logs in here, and I think I would like now to allocate the old cinema building, because I'd like to get that done. So we're just going to get that built. This is going to take quite a lot of effort in the way of bricks and boards and steel, and of course we're going to need to make asphalt. And I think just to wind up now, we're going to need to sort out our right. So you need to come here. Oops, no. We need to assign. I don't want to buy that. I want you to assign that there. Now, of course, this is where it gets a little bit complicated, because we need to be able to deliver concrete. So what we're going to have to do is come over here, and we're not here, there. And what we're going to need is a concrete mixer. And we got our little concrete mixer here. That's going to have to go to our construction office. Now, the question is, do I... we need a cement truck and a concrete gravel truck coming in here. Now, we've got the two gravel trucks here. And I think what we're going to do is try to make one of you into a double loader and then go there and unload. Now, the reason I've done this in as a double loader is that this only holds 3 tons of gravel, and actually that's the wrong way round. Where are you? Now it'll work, because what will happen is if this fills up, he will take the gravel back to there, top up what's left, and drop it off there. So what it will mean is that this will always be being filled up with gravel, so that we can keep making concrete, but at the same time we'll be able to keep things moving. You need boards and gravel. You can see this is filling up here. Really, I could do with another what we call it, dumper. I think I could probably do with a second dumper here now. So we're just going to add that, because we're going to need a dumper to carry the gravel and the asphalt. So we might as well add you to there. So that gives me a second dumper. You can see, so we've already got carts going all over the place, and we've barely got started. This is one of the problems you can have. And I suppose technically, do we need any concrete just at the moment? This is gravel and boards, so we need that delivered. And we have to be very careful not to overload the system here. We got 3 tons of gravel here, asphalt, and we got 7.6 tons of concrete. Okay. Well, we've bought the concrete mixer, haven't we? Did I? I think the concrete mixer is still arriving, isn't he? Yeah. How are we doing? We're holding up okay for food. We've got 10 tons of food here. And we got some clothes. Okay, we're doing good. Doing good. And I think I've just realized that I'm probably gone way over time on this video. So just to finish up, we're gonna have to just come into here, and by our last truck we need a dry bulk wagon here. Now this is going to be an issue. So you can see this one's only got 10 kilometers. So positive side, it's nice and cheap. The only trouble now is it's going to slow up my vehicles delivering to here. I'm just gonna have to do this here. You can see you can only carry 1.3 tons of cement as well, which is, well, it's even more than what we can store, but that's going to be a bit of a problem as well. I've lost him. There he is there. So he almost needs a special road of his own. Anyway, this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you found it interesting. In the next part, we will be moving on to an interesting phase, in the sense that we will probably be having to harvest these fields, which means I'm going to have to try and muster my resources to do that, because we're going to need covered holes to do that. But that is for the next part. So until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.